Close your eyes for a moment. Picture a man strong, capable, determined, standing silently in the glow of his refrigerator at 11 p.m. He makes a choice, a seemingly small, innocent choice, but as dawn breaks, that choice has transformed into a heavy blanket of fog, a body made of lead, a mind struggling to spark. He is not ill, he is not lazy, but he is fighting a battle he doesn't understand, against an enemy he invited in with a fork just hours before. Allow me to paint a detailed picture of the internal sabotage that occurs. When you consume a meal, especially one rich in calories, fat, or protein, your digestive system must engage in significant labor. This requires a substantial redirection of blood flow to your stomach and intestines, a process that demands energy and resources. Now envision this complex, energy-intensive operation being launched just as you are attempting to initiate your body's most critical shutdown sequence for repair and renewal. The two processes are fundamentally incompatible at a systemic level. Your autonomic nervous system, which governs these automatic functions, is forced into a state of conflict. For deep, restorative sleep to occur, your body needs to prioritize the parasympathetic nervous system, often called the rest and digest state. But here's the cruel paradox. The digest part, when activated late, actively prevents the rest part from reaching its deepest, most valuable expression. Your body becomes a divided kingdom, trying to power a full-scale industrial factory digestion, while simultaneously attempting to run a delicate, precision-based restoration project, sleep. One will invariably suffer, and in this battle, it is always the quality of your sleep that loses. This division directly attacks the very architecture of your sleep cycle. Healthy sleep is not a monolithic state of unconsciousness. It is a meticulously choreographed journey through distinct stages: light sleep, deep slow, wave sleep, and REM sleep. These cycles repeat throughout the night, each playing a non-negotiable role in human health. The deep sleep stages, in particular, are your physical and mental restoration gold. This is when human growth hormone is released in pulses, facilitating tissue repair, muscle growth, and cellular regeneration. It is when your brain's lymphatic system, a recently discovered waste clearance system, kicks into high gear, flushing out the metabolic debris and toxic proteins like beta amyloid that accumulate during your waking hours. This is the brain's deep cleaning cycle. When late night eating forces your body to prioritize digestion, it cannot fully commit to these deep, slow wave sleep stages. You may still sleep for 7 or 8 hours, but the proportion of that time spent in truly restorative sleep is slashed. It is the difference between spending 8 hours in a state of the art surgical recovery suite and spending 8 hours on a noisy, vibrating airport floor. Both involve being horizontal and unconscious, but the restorative outcome is worlds apart. The consequence of this architectural damage is profound and manifests in every cell of your being upon waking. Because the deep sleep was truncated or fragmented, the cellular repair work is left incomplete. The brain fog you experience is not just a metaphor. It is the literal residue of metabolic waste that was not properly cleared from your neural pathways overnight. The aching stiffness in your muscles and joints is a sign of inflammation that was not adequately quelled and tissues that were not fully repaired. Your immune system, which is heavily fortified during deep sleep, remains in a weakened state, making you more susceptible to every passing pathogen. Furthermore, the disruption of the sleep cycle throws off the entire rhythm of the following day, influencing hormone regulation, appetite cues, and stress resilience. You wake up not merely tired, but biologically unfinished. The struggle in the morning, then, is the struggle of a system that was denied its essential maintenance window, forced to start a new day's marathon with a body that is still cluttered with yesterday's wear and tear and a mind that is operating with a foggy, inefficient engine. This is the high, hidden cost of that midnight meal, a debt paid not in calories, but in clarity, vitality, and your very potential for the coming day. Let us delve into the precise biochemical betrayal that unfolds in the shadows of the night. When you consume a meal, particularly one rich in refined carbohydrates, sugars, or even a large portion of any macronutrient, your body initiates a complex sequence to manage the incoming energy. Your digestive system breaks down these carbohydrates into glucose, which then enters your bloodstream. This rise in blood glucose is a signal, a call to action. Your pancreas responds by secreting insulin, the hormone tasked with ushering glucose out of the bloodstream and into your cells for energy or storage. This is a normal, healthy process during the day when you are active and your muscles are primed to absorb that fuel. However, at night, in the stillness of your sleeping body, this same process becomes a source of profound internal chaos. The crisis is not in the spike, but in the overcorrection that follows. The insulin response to a late night load is often exaggerated, a heavy-handed solution to a problem the sleeping body did not need. This surge efficiently clears the glucose from your blood, but it frequently does its job too well, plunging you into a state of hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, typically between 2 and 4 a.m. This low blood sugar is not a quiet state. Your brain, which relies almost exclusively on glucose for fuel, perceives this dip as a 5-alarm emergency. It cannot simply wait for your next meal. To survive, it must activate its emergency broadcast system, the stress response. Your adrenal glands are signaled to release cortisol and adrenaline, hormones designed to raise blood sugar by any means necessary. They trigger glycogenolysis, the breakdown of stored glycogen in your liver, and gluconeogenesis, the creation of new glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. This is a rescue mission, but it comes at a tremendous cost to your sleep and morning vitality. Imagine this scene internally. You are ostensibly asleep, but your endocrine system is conducting a hormonal symphony of distress. The surge of cortisol and adrenaline is biologically identical to a jolt of anxiety or fear. Your heart rate may increase, your body may experience subtle tremors or sweating, and your brain shifts from the deep, restful waves of slow wave sleep into a more alert, fragmented state. This is why you might find yourself tossing, turning, or waking with a start in the dead of night for no apparent reason. You have, quite literally, given yourself a shot of stress hormones. This catastrophic disruption fractures the architecture of your sleep, stealing the precious, restorative deep and REM stages. But the rebellion does not end at dawn. When you finally wake, your system is exhausted from the nighttime drama. The hormonal pendulum has swung, and you are often left with a residual high cortisol level in the morning, the very opposite of the healthy, sharp peak you want upon waking. This results in that familiar, gritty feeling of being wired but tired. Your nervous system is agitated from the cortisol, yet every cell is depleted from the battle. Furthermore, the body, now wary of another glucose crash, may drive intense cravings for quick energy, carbohydrates, and caffeine to stabilize itself, setting the stage for a day of erratic energy and potentially another ill-fated nighttime choice. Thus, the struggle in the morning is the palpable hangover of a metabolic riot you unknowingly incited hours before, a fatigue born not of absence of sleep, but of the violent biochemical turbulence within it. Consider your body not as a simple machine, but as a masterful orchestra where every organ, every gland, every cell holds an instrument, and together they perform the intricate 24-hour symphony of your metabolism. This symphony is conducted by an internal timekeeper known as your circadian rhythm, a core biological program encoded over millennia to align your physiology with the primordial rhythms of day and night. This conductor expects specific movements at specific times, the brisk allegro of daytime activity, nutrient intake, and energy expenditure, followed by the slow, restorative adagio of nighttime repair, cleansing, and rejuvenation. When you eat late at night, you do not merely add a note. You stand up in the middle of the quiet adagio and blast a cacophonous daytime riff. You forcefully hand a new, contradictory sheet of music to entire sections of the orchestra, throwing the entire performance into disarray. The most profound confusion is directed at your metabolic organs, particularly your liver and pancreas. These organs have their own powerful cellular clocks, peripheral oscillators that take their primary cue from the central conductor in the brain, but are exquisitely fine-tuned by your behavior, especially eating. During the evening and into the night, your liver is biologically programming itself for a different task. It is shifting from its daytime role of processing incoming fuel and storing glycogen to its nighttime mandate of glycogen breakdown, glucose regulation, and detoxification. It is preparing for its essential maintenance shift. The arrival of a significant meal, particularly one with carbohydrates, slams this process into reverse. It sends a potent, conflicting time signal that screams daytime to your liver cells. They must abruptly halt their scheduled cleanup and switch back to the biochemical machinery of storage and processing. This misalignment suppresses the natural, healthy metabolic processes that should be peaking at night and forces an unnecessary, inefficient workload upon a system prepared for rest. This discord has dire consequences for your morning state. First, it fundamentally dampens your metabolic rate. Your body's efficiency at burning calories is not constant, it is circadian. By eating at the wrong biological time, you instruct your metabolism to operate in a more conservative, storage-oriented mode. The processing of the meal itself may create a slight thermic effect, but the overall systemic message is one of preservation, not expenditure. Second, this mistiming directly impairs your insulin sensitivity. Your pancreas, similarly confused by the conflicting time cue, may release insulin in a less coordinated, more sluggish manner, while your muscle cells, which should be resting, become less receptive to its signal. This promotes a greater proportion of that late night energy to be stored as fat rather than being readily available for fuel. Consequently, you wake with a metabolism that is not merely slow, but disoriented. It is an orchestra where the strings are playing a waltz, the brass is playing a march, and the conductor is out for coffee. The result is a profound energetic lag, a body struggling to find its rhythm, groggy and heavy, because its fundamental internal timing, the very rhythm of life itself, has been desynchronized by a single, mistimed act of consumption. You are not just tired, you are lagged in your own body, having forced a crossing of time zones without ever leaving your kitchen. Imagine, if you will, a silent, smoldering fire that you deliberately stoke just as you retreat to your bed. This is not a dramatic metaphor, but a precise physiological reality. The process of digestion, especially when tasked with processing a large, rich, or processed meal, is inherently inflammatory. It is a controlled, necessary kind of inflammation, a mobilization of immune resources to manage the influx of foreign proteins, fats, and compounds, and to repair the minor micro-tears in the gut lining that occur during normal digestion. This is a routine daytime operation, managed efficiently when the body is awake, active, and primed for such work. However, initiating this complex immunological process at night, during the period dedicated to systemic cooling, repair, and anti-inflammatory activity, is akin to scheduling a major construction project during a city's mandated ceasefire. The noise, debris, and chaos fundamentally undermine the peace. The mechanism is twofold. First, the mere act of digesting food, particularly sugars and certain saturated fats, can generate free radicals and oxidative stress as a byproduct of energy production within your cells. This creates a low-level demand on your antioxidant defenses, which should be replenishing during sleep, not being depleted. Second, and more significantly, a late meal, especially one high in unhealthy fats and refined ingredients, can contribute to a condition known as metabolic endotoxemia. This involves the passage of inflammatory bacterial compounds, called endotoxins, from your gut into your bloodstream. These endotoxins are normally kept in check by a healthy gut barrier and a balanced microbiome. But a large, hard-to-process meal can increase intestinal permeability, the infamous leaky gut, and disturb the gut flora, allowing these inflammatory particles to seep into circulation. Your immune system, ever vigilant, detects these foreign invaders and launches an attack, releasing a cascade of inflammatory signaling molecules called cytokines. Here is the crux of the nightly sabotage. This inflammatory cascade is directly antagonistic to the hormonal environment required for deep, restorative sleep. The very cytokines summoned to address the digestive fallout, such as interleukin-1 beta and tumor necrosis factor alpha, are known to fragment sleep, suppress slow-wave sleep, and promote excessive daytime sleepiness. They are cellular alarm bells that keep your immune system in a state of low-grade red alert vigilance. So while you lie in bed, your body is not in a state of peaceful restoration. It is engaged in a silent, resource-draining civil war. The battlefield inflammation generated in your gut and bloodstream now becomes systemic. It circulates and settles into your tissues, your joints, your muscles, your blood vessels, and even the delicate neural pathways of your brain. This is the biochemical origin of the heaviness you feel. The joint stiffness is literal inflammation in the synovial fluid. The brain fog is neuroinflammation, a swelling of the brain's support cells that impedes clear communication between neurons. The pervasive ache and resistance in your muscles upon waking is not just fatigue. It is the palpable residue of this inflammatory storm, the cellular debris and fluid that accumulate in interstitial spaces when your body was too busy fighting a digestive fire to properly clean house. You rise not just unrested, but actively inflamed, carrying the physical memory of the meal in every stiff, swollen, and sluggish movement of the new day. Let us be unequivocally clear, the struggle you face in the morning is not a character flaw. It is not a sign of weak will or an inevitable symptom of modern life. It is, in the most literal sense, a biological echo. It is the downstream consequence of choices made in the quiet hours, a physiological report card written by the body in the language of inflammation, hormonal rebellion, and fractured sleep. Each groggy awakening, each battle with the snooze button, each moment of foggy indecision is your system communicating a profound truth. The night is for restoration, not digestion. When we violate that fundamental principle, we force our biology into a state of conflict, and the price is paid in the currency of our most precious resource, our vitality at dawn. We have traced this chain of cause and effect through the very architecture of your being. We see how the late night meal fractures the sacred progression of sleep, stealing the deep, restorative waves that cleanse the brain and repair the body. We have witnessed the internal rebellion of blood sugar, the spike, the crash, and the resulting surge of stress hormones that turn a peaceful night into a biochemical battlefield. We have understood the confusion sown in our circadian rhythm, that ancient internal conductor whose signals are drowned out by a mistimed feast, leaving our metabolism disoriented and sluggish. And we have felt the smoldering fire of inflammation, ignited by digestion and left to burn through the night, stiffening joints and clouding minds. These are not isolated events. They are interconnected strands of a single, self-perpetuating cycle, where poor choices in the evening engineer the exhaustion that drives more poor choices. Following day, the power to break this cycle rests entirely in the hands of the person standing before the refrigerator's glow. It begins with a single, revolutionary act of redrawing a boundary, establishing a sacred period of digestive peace, a buffer zone of at least 3 hours where the kitchen is closed and the only thing you consume is calm. This is not about deprivation, it is about liberation. It is about shifting the focus from what you are denying yourself at night to what you are gifting yourself in the morning: clarity, energy, and a body that feels light and ready. It is choosing to view that evening window not as a last chance to consume, but as a first and critical investment in the next day's potential. So tonight, when that familiar pull arises, see it for what it truly is. Not hunger, but the echo of an old cycle. And in that moment, make a different choice. Choose to drink water. Choose to close the door. Choose to begin the quiet work of restoration early. For when you do, you will write a different story for your sunrise. You will not just wake up, you will arise. You will meet the day not as a casualty of the night before, but as its architect. The man who stands in that refrigerator light holds the key to his own freedom. It's time to turn off the light and step into a brighter morning. Thank you for joining me for this critical conversation. If this exploration of nighttime choices and morning vitality has resonated with you, if you see the outline of your own struggle in this cycle, then your most powerful step is to share the knowledge. Upload this video to your community, to your teams, to the platforms where people are searching for answers to their exhaustion. Share this information with a friend, a partner, a family member who nods in weary recognition. This is not just content. It is a catalyst for change, a tool to break a pervasive and silent cycle that diminishes potential. Your engagement is what transforms a monologue into a movement. By choosing to upload, share, and spread this message, you become part of a shift from passive suffering to active understanding, from confusion to biological clarity. You help others connect the dots between their evening plate and their dawn fatigue, empowering them to make a different choice. I am Dr. Charlotte Hayes, dedicated to untangling the root causes of our modern health struggles. This is where our session ends, but where your application and your advocacy begins. Until next time, choose wisely tonight and reclaim your tomorrow. Goodbye.